my name is Allison. Welcome to A Taste of Therapy TV. I'm thrilled that you joined me tonight. I'm so happy to be here as a part of Therapy Thursdays with my friends Manja TV. I am your food therapist, which means I use cooking and therapy and combine them together to help you solve your problems. So all you couples, I can solve all of your relationship problems by giving you specific recipes to do in your home tonight or whenever to fix those problems. So tonight we're talking about intimacy, which is a huge, big elephant that nobody likes to talk about. But let's be honest, a lot of people struggle with this, and a lot of people have issues with this in their relationship. And I was really struggling with dealing with this in my private practice because couples would keep coming in and talking to me about this, and they didn't know what to do. So I decided just to come up with a recipe to fix the problem once and for all. So that's what we're doing tonight. I'm going to share with you my recipe for roasted shrimp with spicy Thai peanut sauce to spice up your love life. Okay, we ready to get started? Okay, so first let me talk to you a little bit about what is intimacy and why it's important in your relationship, right? Some basic information here for you to have. So intimacy really, truly is just being connected to another person. And it's being connected on a level that's deeper and more emotional and more just connected to than maybe, let's say, your friends or your family. It's truly being connected on every level to another person. And that's so vital to your relationships. Remember how a few weeks ago I talked to you about communication and trust and how when those things go out the window, everything else falls, by the wayside as well. Intimacy is also just as vital to the health of your relationship, if not the most important. If you're not intimate with your partner, if you're not having intimacy in both the physical and emotional way, your relationship's going to suffer, and that's the truth of the matter. And so you need to fix this problem. And so it's important because it keeps you connected. It keeps you feeling close and like you can really share yourself with another person and be a partner to that person. And that's the whole reason you're in this relationship anyway, right? Just have a partner in life. So I want you to think about your intimacy more than just the sexual aspect of it. Because, yes, that's important. But more to it, it's being connected to another person. And it's beyond important to your relationship. So you have to think about it. And you have to be aware of where your intimacy levels are, right? Okay, so let's say you come and you're like, okay, I hear what you're saying, Allison. I understand that intimacy is important, but my intimacy level is in the dumps. Things are bad in the bedroom. I'm not connecting with my partner. I don't know what to do about it. What do I do? Here's what you need to do. You need to go into the kitchen with your partner tonight and make this recipe. And the reason for that is because it creates the opportunity to talk about intimacy in a fun and different way. Okay, because usually people are uncomfortable. This is a topic that nobody wants to talk about. They get embarrassed, or they certainly don't want to admit that they have a problem in the bedroom, right? So this is a great way to put those walls down, to open up and to be a little bit more open and creative in talking about it in a different way. So when it comes to fixing your intimacy levels, I have 3 answers for you. The number one way to do that is to have fun in your relationship. Have fun with this. Think about intimacy in a fun and different way. Don't think about it as a pressured, scheduled, having it to be this structured, boring, whatever. Have fun with it. Talk about it. Stop it being this big, scary elephant in the room and just open up and talk about it. So that's the number one. Have fun in your relationship. The number 2 tip I have for you to creating more intimacy is to create more opportunities to have intimacy. So what does that mean? More opportunities. That means to talk about it and to then have time together to create intimacy together. Don't just assume intimacy is going to happen, right? You can't just assume it. It's not going to happen. You have to create those opportunities. And a little tidbit for you, cooking therapy is a great way to create that intimacy. And then the third way, like I said, is to make this shrimp dish together. Okay, so those are my top 3 ways to create more intimacy. And we're going to go into this a little bit deeper when I start making the recipe. So let me go ahead and get started on that. Okay, so roasted shrimp is really, really fun and easy to do. I don't know if you've ever made this kind of dish before, but I love making shrimp. And I have a lot of people that I work with that are actually really intimidated by making seafood. They think it's really hard, or they think it's, I don't know, just intimidating in general. So I love, prescribing this recipe for them to do because it is easy and it's a really welcoming way to get into making seafood without being too overwhelmed. So what I have here in this bowl, let me show you. All right. I have here, if you can see this, I have 2 pounds of raw shrimp that I have deveined and peeled. So there you go, these little guys. And these are about, medium to extra large size. I like them big, hey. So, and I've actually brined this shrimp. This is another little tip for you. I don't know if anyone's ever brined seafood before, but it's amazing. You have to try it. It's very similar to when you brine any kind of meat. It just makes it really tender. And I learned this from a chef friend actually who shared this with me a couple years ago, and I actually didn't believe him because I was talking to him about how when I make shrimp at home, it's good, but it's never as good as it is like in a restaurant. It just feels like it's a little bit tougher. And he shared with me this tip. He's like, go home and try it, and you'll never, not brine shrimp again. So, and he was right. I mean, seriously. So when you brine shrimp, I have in here 8 cups of water. And then to that, I added 1/4 cup of sugar and 1/4 cup of salt. And then I let it sit for about 30 minutes in the fridge, covered up in this bowl, until we're ready to go. Okay, so that's the shrimp. So the first step to making this dish is you're going to go into the kitchen with your partner and you're going to make the sauce and then you're going to make the shrimp. 2 steps to this recipe. It's really easy. So while you're making the sauce, which includes these ingredients here, I have my coconut milk. I have 15 ounces of coconut milk right here. I'm going to dump this in my pan. I love recipes that are really easy. I think I told you that last week. So this is right up there with that easy recipe. All right, to that I'm going to add 1/2 cup of peanut butter. So while you're doing this step with your partner and making the sauce, you are going to talk about, actually, hang on, let me just mix this up real quick. And then I have 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Let me get this all in here and then I'll tell you what you're gonna do. I have 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. And then the secret here is red curry paste. Now this all depends on how spicy you like the sauce to be. I'm a medium to low spice person. I can tolerate some spice, but I don't love it. So I'm just gonna add a little bit to it. The recipe actually calls for 2 ounces, which is half of this jar. So you can really be as liberal or as conservative as you want when it comes to the spice. All right, so I'm just gonna put in a little teeny bit here. And then I'm going to heat up this sauce, and while it's cooking, I'm going to tell you what you're going to be doing. All right, so then we're going to have this cook on. We're just going to let this simmer and come together. Okay, so when you're and your partner are in the kitchen, you're making the sauce. I have on the recipe, which you can find on my website, which is tasteoftherapy.com. I have 4 questions to talk about intimacy. And I've written them down for you on the website. So when you go to make this recipe, I want you to have these questions already printed out so you can answer them. All right, so we're going to go over them right now. So when it comes to physical intimacy, that's what I want to talk to you about tonight. When it comes to that, there are really 4 main problems when it comes to why your intimacy level in the bedroom is lacking. So as long as it's not something medical related, right, I can't help you with that. As long as it's not medical related, these are the top 4 reasons typically that relationships fail in the bedroom. So usually it's feelings of being rejected, it's feelings of boredom, stress, or what's the other one? Oh, feeling rejected. So rejected, boredom, stress, and overall just sheer exhaustion. So those are the main 4 reasons I see people struggling in the bedroom. So I've created 4 cooking therapy questions to touch on all of those issues. So when you're making the sauce, I want you to answer all 4 of these questions. And then when you're making the shrimp, you and your partner are going to talk about your answers for these questions. But I want to go over them with you so you can kind of get a feel for what I'm talking about. Okay, so first question is, I have it written down, I don't know if you can see it. How can my partner show me more emotion? So if you're feeling emotionally disconnected from your partner, you're not going to want to have sex with them, right? Basic. So I want you to answer, how can my partner show me more emotion? The second question here is, what am I most stressed about? Don't underestimate stress here, guys. Stress is a huge killer of everything in a relationship, and it bleeds, everything bleeds into the bedroom. Let's talk about Having a bad day at work, right? How long does it take you to unwind and shake that off? A long time. Or let's say your kids are driving you bananas. That's going to stress you out, and that's going to impact you going into the bedroom as well. So stress is a big deal. Don't just, say, oh, I'm stressed, whatever. It's a big deal, and it really does impact your relationship. So keep that in mind. Okay. The third question you're going to answer while this sauce is cooking is, I feel rejected when my partner does blank. So, okay, and even if you don't feel rejected, if you think, oh, my partner doesn't do anything to reject me, I disagree. Your partner does something to reject you, whether it's physical or not, whether you feel ignored or whether you feel like they pay more attention to their friends than you, or whatever the case may be. There is something in your relationship that makes you feel rejected. So I want you to answer that honestly. Because again, don't underestimate the power of these answers. They're really important because all of this is impacting your bedroom life, and that's what we're trying to fix. And the fourth question I want you to answer here is, it says, I wish my partner would try blank in the bedroom. This is where I want you to be really open and share and be honest and just adventure some. Try something new. Put down on the card whatever it is you are wanting to try. Put it right on here. Okay, so the two of you are going to answer all four of these questions while you're making the sauce. Now, you're not going to share your answers until after the sauce is made. So I just want you to write the answers down on a piece of paper. And again, I want you to be honest and open, right? Okay, so the sauce is simmering. And it's not quite done. So while I'm waiting for it, I want to share with you a little story. So my friend Sandy, I was talking to her about this episode tonight, and she shared with me a fantastic idea for something that you all could try while you're making this dish. So I was telling her how cooking therapy, this recipe in specific, it creates an opportunity for intimacy in a fun and different way. And she was like, you should tell your clients to make this recipe in their underwear. Put on some sexy lingerie, put on your boxers, get comfortable, put the kids to bed, make this recipe like that. And I'm like, that's an amazing idea. So I wanted to share that with you because I know you might think that sounds crazy, but what a great opportunity to start the sexy time a little bit early, right? Have some fun with it. Who cares? You're in your own house. This doesn't involve any knives or any hot oil. You're not going to burn yourself or hurt yourself. So why not have some fun with that? I think that's a really good idea. So thank you to Sandy. You rock. Thanks for that fantastic idea. All right. So do we have any questions out here that I can answer? I want to know, actually, I have a question for all of you. I want to know how, by show of hands, how comfortable would this be for you? Would this be uncomfortable or would this be super comfortable? I want to know, because I want to hear, what your thoughts are as far as, is this something you think you would actually try? Another funny story, while I wait for your answers to come rolling in, another funny story I have about this. So I have this client that I worked with a couple months ago who, it's funny, when people come in to see me, couples are funny. They try to act like things are really great, even when they come to couples therapy, which, let's be honest, if you're coming to couples therapy, things are not great, right? So they come in there and they're like, yeah, we're having a hard time communicating, which is usually what everybody says, even though there's usually 100 other things going on. And they were just really skittish and uncomfortable about talking about their intimacy. And I had to just put it out there. I had to say, okay, guys, how often are you having sex? Like, what's going on? And they were completely, you could just see it all over them. They were so uncomfortable. And I had to say, this doesn't make me uncomfortable. This is not something that you need to be squirmish about. This is something we need to talk about. And finally, they were able to say, okay, yeah, that's why we're here. We're not having sex. It's really uncomfortable. I don't know why. And so what I did was I told them to go home and make this recipe. And they looked at me like I was crazy, and which is something I'm used to when it comes to cooking therapy. A lot of my clients think I'm crazy. But so I said, I want you to make this dish. I want you to go home. I want you to ask each other the questions. And I want you to pay attention to the answers. I want you to pay attention to which, of these 4 questions really speaks to you the most. Because there's a reason I'm having you ask these 4 questions, right? Because it hit on each of the 4 main reasons people aren't having sex. And so they went home, they made the dish, they sat down, they ate it, and they came back and they were like, oh my God, Allison, that was amazing. Like, not only did we talk about sex in a fun and different way, but we were able to really pinpoint what the issue was for the 2 of them. And for them, they were feeling really emotionally disconnected, both of them, both the man and the woman. And so because of that, they weren't having sex, clearly. So that's how I knew then where to go. So then we worked on building emotional connection, and that's how they fix their sex life. I mean, this stuff really works, and I really, really want you all to try it, because I know that once you stop being uncomfortable about this topic, it's going to be so much easier for you to fix the problem. Okay, so our sauce is done. So I'm going to turn the heat off, and now we're going to make our shrimp. So I have my shrimp right here, and I'm going to put it into a glass bowl. Now this recipe calls for turmeric, and so that stains a lot of like plastic. So I'm going to put it in this yellow bowl because it's yellow, and I don't want to stain my white bowl. All right, whoops, you can't see me. Okay, so shrimp goes in here. All right. To the shrimp, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of canola oil. And then I have here the spices. It has salt. I don't know if you can see this. Salt, turmeric, and then fresh grated ginger. This smells like heaven. I'm going to put this right in here. So now, while you and your partner are doing this step of the recipe, you're going to be sharing with each other the answers to the questions that you just came up with. So alternate. I want you to, first person say, my answer to number 1 is blah, blah, blah. And then person number 2 say blah, 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 right? Okay. So I'm just mixing this up. There. Now I use 2 pounds of shrimp, so it looks like I might need to actually add a little bit more seasoning to this, and I'm going to do it right on the pan. You can make as much, you can double, triple, quadruple this recipe. That's what's so great about it. I'm going to add a little bit more spice to this because I don't think it has nearly enough. Okay. So let me just weigh in on this conversation here. I feel like I'm missing so much stuff here. So weekend grilling. Hey, I'm so glad you're back this week. So he is sharing with us, it'll bring our problems to head. We should talk about them, but we don't. It'll be better tomorrow. Yeah, so 10 years later saying the same thing. Exactly, exactly. That's what cooking therapy is so great for, because it forces you to talk about stuff that you normally wouldn't talk about. And that's really what I go back to every week, folks, because you have to make dinner, right? You have to eat at some point. So why not use the opportunity of cooking dinner as a way to fix your problems and talk about your problems and come up with solutions for those problems that you keep putting off anyway, right? That's exactly it. So I got my this, I'm going to add a little bit more to it because it's not nearly enough. And then for those of you who have never grated ginger before, it's really simple. So I have a piece of real ginger root here and a grater. And I wash this real good to get the skin off. If you don't like the skin, you can actually peel it with a potato peeler and then before you grate it. But I don't really care because it's so little amount of the skin that gets on there. And then you seriously just do this right on top. Just grate it like this. And to me, fresh ginger is the greatest spice imaginable. Yep, there we go. There. Okay. So Bob is telling me to hit this with some Shrimp Mojo. That's an excellent idea. The delicious seasoning salt that comes from Manja TV. I have some actually in my cabinet. I should get that out. Okay. So I have here my raw shrimp. I don't know if you can see that. It's all seasoned and ready to go. I'm going to pop this in the oven right here for about 5 minutes. And when you do this, you want to make sure you get raw shrimp. If you're going to use frozen shrimp from the grocery store, that's totally fine. Just make sure that it's raw. You don't want shrimp that's already cooked, otherwise it'll get really rubbery if you're cooking it twice. That doesn't make sense. Oh, temperature, thank you, Bob. So you're going to cook this at 425 for about 4 to 5 minutes until they get to be nice and pink. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take them out, put them in a bowl, and you want to eat them when they're hot. I like them hot, or you can actually wait and you can cool them down and have them at room temperature. These are great for a party. If you're having little appetizers, put them on a little skewer and serve them like that with the dipping sauce on the side. You can see this sauce. It's so delicious. Or if you can put these in a salad, you can add them to a wrap, you can make them your main entree. Shrimp is so versatile, really. So let me just review real quick. Let me just go over the recipe as far as the cooking therapy part one more time so I make sure you've got it. First step is you're going to make the sauce. So the sauce has, let me get these specific amounts. It has 15 ounces of coconut milk, which you can buy at any grocery store. It has 2 ounces of red curry paste, or as much as little as you like. So I didn't put in 2 ounces because I don't like that much. It's got 3/4 of a cup of peanut butter. It has 2 tablespoons of cider vinegar, and it has a 1/2 cup of water. You're going to mix all this up in a saucepan, simmer until it's nice and thick, and incorporate it together. While you're doing that recipe, you're going to answer these 4 questions that I have prepared for you to come, to a conclusion as far as what is the real heart of the matter for why we're not sleeping together, right? And then step 2, you're going to put the seasonings on the shrimp and pop those bad boys in the oven. During that step, you're going to then share with each other the answers to your questions. Now, keep in mind which answer, just like I shared with my client that I told you about earlier, I want you to keep in mind which answer speaks to you the most, which one really resonates to you as far as why I'm not sleeping with my partner. That will be the reason that you're not sleeping together. That's the reason the intimacy level is low, and so that's where you need to work on. So if it's the same, which it might be, both of you might be really stressed, like my clients, and that's why you're not having sex. Or it could be one person's feeling emotionally disconnected and the other person's feeling rejected by your partner because of something else. That's where you need to find common ground, and that's where you need to start coming up with a solution, right? So that's where the solutions start coming into play. And you can start talking about, well, how can I make you feel less rejected? How can I help you feel more emotionally connected to me? Start the conversation. Start talking about it. That's how you solve these problems. It's as simple as that. I know that this sounds grandiose, like, make my shrimp, it'll fix your sex life. But I swear to God, it will. It totally will, because you'll be talking about why you're not sleeping together, why you're not doing it, and the real reasons behind it. Once you fix that reason, you're good. You're golden. That's what's going to fix it. I promise. The questions are the most important part. That's exactly right. So even though it's tough, have the conversation and go into this knowing. So that's a good point. Go into this with both parties being excited and wanting to talk about this. I don't want you to Shanghai your partner and be like, hey, we're going to make shrimp and we're going to talk about why we're not having sex at the same time, right? Like, I want you to be a little bit more on the same page when it comes to this. So both of you should be calm, in a good mood, in the right place, and ready to talk about this kind of stuff. I wouldn't recommend making this recipe after you come home from work and you've had a really terrible day. That's not going to win anybody over. Do this on a night when you're both ready and able and open, and just start having the conversation. And the questions might be hard, but good to get the answers now, so you know where to go in the future. Oh, that's a timer. Let's see how these guys look. Excuse me. Pop holder. My apologies. My oven is right where my camera is, so I apologize. I'm all up in your face right at this moment. All right. Oh, these look so good. This is perfect. All right. Okay. So see how pink these are? Can you see that? This is exactly how you want them to be. There's lots of spice right on here. You can see the chunks of ginger. They're perfect. I could have even planned this better. This is perfect. All right, so I'm gonna let these guys cool for a little bit before I'm gonna skewer them. And again, you can serve these in any way. I like to have them on like a platter and then have the dipping sauce on the side. I think it's a really great combination. And the spiciness of the red curry with the peanut butter is heaven. It's an amazing flavor combination with the fresh ginger. You're really gonna love it. And it's not your boring old shrimp cocktail. This is a great, fun, different recipe that I'm sure you've never tried, but you probably have these ingredients in your pantry. So here's what, let me see. So maybe start with 1 or 2 questions rather than all 4. Okay, thank you. Yes. So, I think Like my list is really long, yeah. So I think that's a great idea. If you're not ready to answer all 4 questions at once, I think that's okay, as long as you agree with me and you to answer all 4 questions at some point. I don't want you to leave one of the questions unanswered because it makes you uncomfortable or you don't want to talk about it, because that kind of defeats the whole purpose of answering the questions in general, right? So make sure that you get to them at some point. So if you do this recipe maybe twice, you can answer the questions, the ones you didn't get to later on. So yeah. Do we have any other questions? Do you guys have any other? Pass the shrimp. I know, I'm ready to eat some myself. Looks so good. I'm so thrilled that I'm getting so much great feedback about the show, and I'm just so thrilled to be a part of this. And thank you so much for tuning in and letting me talk about cooking therapy, which is something I obviously love so much, and I want you to love it just as much as I do. So I want you to go home. I want you to make this recipe with your partner, talk about the questions, and just start having the conversation about intimacy in a different way, because you'll find that when you talk about it and start fixing the problems behind the intimacy, your sex life will ultimately get better, I promise. So if there's nothing else, yeah, so please tune in to me. I'm going to be on Therapy Thursdays every week starting now in the month of July, which I'm so excited about. If you have any specific recipes or relationship topics you want me to cover, please send me an email. I'm at A Taste of Therapy, info@atasteoftherapy.com. Please reach out to me. I'll be happy to weigh that in and answer all of your questions. And thank you so much to Manja TV for letting me be a part of this. I love doing it, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. So thank you so much for tuning in. Good luck with the shrimp. I can't wait to hear how it goes, and I'll see you guys next week. All right, bye.